a small residential street, homes on either side of the street. So definitely not the type of neighborhood. Oh, look at that. There was a bicyclist there or a guy on a scooter there making his way through, who of course wouldn't anticipate that there would be a police pursuit making its way through the neighborhood. And again, there's no police units behind him, so you wouldn't even think this is a pursuit. You would just think that this is some sort of crazy driver making his way through the Hawthorne neighborhood here. But I believe he's going to come out to a bigger street here, which is good because it at least put him away from some of those homes. Oh gosh, look at this. What is he doing? Literally just turning in front of a bunch of vehicles, in front of a pedestrian. Yeah, as far as we know, this has been going on for a good 30 minutes at least, and that's just the pursuit part. But prior to that, another agency, the LAPD, was in pursuit. So on top of that, I'd say it was at least another 30 minutes prior to that. So this has been going on for a very long time. As far as we know, there haven't been any collisions, and from what we can gather here, just looking at the vehicle, a number of close calls, perhaps a small side swipe earlier. But it's been a dangerous one, just because of the driving here. The high speeds on this is a surface street, and he's going almost 60 miles an hour. Highway speeds in a residential neighborhood. That is the danger of this, and that is why law enforcement. Exactly. Yeah, correct. I mean, we've seen that time and time again where the passenger didn't know this was a stolen car. They were just going somewhere with a friend, and then it turns out the vehicle was stolen. So it could be a situation like that. We had initially heard that there were multiple people in the car, but because of how long this has been going on, there's also the possibility that the driver already let those passengers out, and he's now solo in this Kia Soul. That's still unclear. All I can really see is that driver. I'm really not seeing much in the way of anyone in the front passenger or even the rear, but this vehicle does have tinted windows, so it's really difficult to look inside. Yeah, from what we understand, it was sometime this month. I don't have the exact date, but it was LAPD's Wilshire Division, which is roughly the mid-city area of town. So we're a long ways from there. So it could be a situation where this person stole the vehicle days ago, and they've been pretty much driving it like they own it ever since. And it was this afternoon when LAPD officers from, I believe it was the 77th Division, first spotted it. They tried to pull him over, but he failed to yield. The pursuit was on, but because of the dangerous maneuvers, the LAPD decided it was best to just let him go, and that hopefully they would get him at some other time. But he made his way into LA County, and that was his mistake, because once he got to LA County Sheriff's jurisdiction, they started chasing him, and then they've given it over to the California Highway Patrol. At this point, just from the air, because of stuff like this, Robert, this guy's driving on the wrong side of the road, and there's literally no one behind him. So if they add units behind him, it's only going to escalate things. It's only going to make him that much more nervous and just continue to endanger the public. What I could see them possibly doing is just letting it go altogether. Now, you might be wondering why would they do that after everything this guy has done? Well, it is a property crime after all. It is a vehicle that was taken. This isn't a murder suspect, and so for that reason, the officers may determine that out of an abundance of caution here, it's best to just let this guy go now and hopefully get him in the future, because lives are being put in danger with every twist and turn that this guy makes. Yeah, absolutely. And these are small residential neighborhoods as well, which is so concerning because people could be out and about at this time of the day, especially people just trying to make their way home. And when he's encountered situations where he's put behind a vehicle like this, he just gets desperate and starts going the wrong way, or he starts turning in front of other vehicles, running red lights, running stop signs. So there's clearly a desperation to get away. So it'll be interesting to see who, in fact, is behind the wheel when all is said and done. But again, at this point, multiple law enforcement agencies have been in pursuit of this vehicle today, and the pursuits continue. Okay. Oh. Yeah, and I was just so nervous, Robert, because there's a lot of families walking around. This is a big store. I didn't get a chance to look at what type of store it is, but you can see it's a big lot, and he's just making his way through the lot. I think he's lost. Going off-roading here for a second onto the sidewalk and back onto the road. He's in Inglewood, so it's a further shot than we'd like to give you, but we're in the LAX airspace, so we have to stay a little bit further away as planes go into land. But he's coming back our way, so that should make it a little bit better for us. But to just bounce off of what you were saying about these Kia Souls, like it really has been an epidemic from what we've been able to gather in the pursuits that we've been able to. Really has been an epidemic from what we've been able to gather in the pursuits that we've been able to gather to cover involving these vehicles. We've had a number of them in the last few months, sometimes multiple a day that were Kias. So this clearly is an issue, and today it's yet again a Kia Soul that was stolen somewhere from the LAPD's Wilshire division, so roughly the mid-city area of town, sometime this month. How that vehicle was taken, that is still unknown, whether it was just a crime of opportunity or some sort of carjacking. But you can see continuing to kind of squeeze his way through traffic here in the city of Inglewood.
Paying no attention to any signals right there. Ileana, we want to thank you for that, and we're going to keep monitoring this pursuit as we look ahead to the NBC4 News now at 5 o'clock. And we have breaking news that is unfolding right here.
That's right. We've been following this breaking news of police in pursuit of a stolen car. You see it right there. This is a white Kia Soul and, of course, has been driving recklessly as we've been monitoring this pursuit in the South Bay area, currently in the Inglewood area, Robert.
We've seen it on the 405 heading north through Torrance. We've seen it in Hawthorne. As you mentioned, we've seen it in Inglewood. We did see one car that was sideswiped. As you watch the driver behind this wheel, he has had absolutely no regard for any traffic signals. He has gone through residential neighborhoods. He has gone through parking lots of shopping plazas. It doesn't really seem as there is a direction to which he is heading. We understand that 3 different law enforcement agencies, the LAPD, the CHP, the LA County Sheriff's Department, have all at one time been in pursuit of this stolen vehicle. All have pulled off because of the dangers involved. They are monitoring it overhead, as is News Chopper 4 with our Ileana Moreno overhead. We continue to monitor this right now. We stay overhead because of the danger right now presented to the public. As Ileana Moreno pointed out to us, Annabelle, this was a car that was not just stolen. That was not just carjacked, and I say carjacked in quotation marks because we don't know if the person behind the wheel or if any of the passengers are armed at this point. Right. But this was a car that was stolen perhaps several days, several weeks ago. LAPD got a hold of it in Inglewood, and that's what led us to the races right now.
Right. And so LAPD apparently spotted this vehicle around 3 p.m. They started a pursuit. This driver failed to yield, and that's what gave way to this pursuit. Now, they decided to pull away. Units decided to pull away from this pursuit because of how recklessly the driver was being in regard to being pursued by police officers. But they have been monitoring, as you've mentioned, Robert, they have been monitoring it through their chopper. And truly, I mean, just from what we've seen this car go way over the speed limit on the 405 freeway, on these surface streets, into parking lots. And again, not having any regard for anybody who is around this driver. I mean, so many close calls as we've witnessed. But we had heard that there could be multiple people in this vehicle. The windows are tinted, so it is pretty hard to see. But again, we are talking about a white Kia Soul. And as we've mentioned, there have been so many reports of these vehicles being stolen because of a TikTok challenge. And so these are easily targeted by thieves who want to, just steal a vehicle.
Well, and what's interesting also is that if the car was stolen several days ago, they didn't swap out the license plates. They didn't take off the license plates. The car hasn't been stripped for parts. So this was a car that, someone had been behind the wheel of it, driving around the Inglewood area, pretty much knowing that this car was being looked for. Mm-hmm. And this car was spotted. And now this driver has taken a very reckless chase throughout different parts of the South Bay here, and now it is heading into South Los Angeles. We haven't seen him back on any freeways. We just saw the 405 going north through Torrance. So now we are back in South L.A. Again, you're not going to see any law enforcement cruisers behind the car or in front. No spike strips or anything planned at this point because they deemed that it was just too dangerous to follow him on the roads here on a busy Friday afternoon in Southern California.
So this vehicle is only being monitored as of right now on the air. No units are behind this vehicle because of how reckless this driver is being in regards to just disrespecting all of these speed limits. Again, if you know anybody who lives around this area who you are expecting home, just please tell them to be very careful. We are monitoring this vehicle and we are seeing how fast he or she is driving, just going way over the speed limit. Hasn't gone on the freeway, as you mentioned, Robert, but is really just staying on these surface streets. And we know traffic is very heavy at this hour, which could slow down the driver, but is still just turning whenever he or she wants to turn and going into these parking lots, which is really, putting so many lives at risk at this point. But again, a white Kia Soul. This pursuit started, or LAPD spotted this vehicle around 3 p.m. And of course, we got word of it, and then we started monitoring it as well. Okay,
we want to bring in former CHP officer Bill Preciado. Bill, great to speak with you again. Under these circumstances, I'm going to have you take it away. What can you tell us from your perspective?
Well, right now, it's Friday afternoon, 5 o'clock. We're dealing with a lot of factors here. The agency that's responsible for this pursuit is obviously making a correct call. They're backing off a little bit. They have the air unit overhead that's helping other ground units coordinate. The overall safety of the public, I'm sure, is being taken care of. So in this instant, they know it's a stolen vehicle. The individual is obviously driving without any regard for public safety. The pursuing officers in the vehicles have backed off a little bit, which is a common tactic used by various agencies for the overall safety of the public. And they're coordinating. They're not only coordinating with their own agency, but allied agencies that may take over the pursuit at some point in the future, depending on where this individual ends up, whether it's in the county area or surrounding city.
Well, this is sort of then the question, Bill, when do they make the determination that it is appropriate for them to get involved and to get on the roads and to chase this guy and to try and put an end to this on the road itself?
Well, as a former sergeant myself, you consider the liability factor. We've seen time and time again through different pursuits where individuals do crash. We're trying to limit that liability for the agency, but more importantly for the public. The sergeant that's in charge of this pursuit probably made the call, or the responding units, they made the call, probably thinking, you know what, let's back off a little bit. Let's let our air unit take over and give us the location. Believe me, there's units coordinating around this pursuit. And at some point, when this individual either slows down or parks, you will see a wide range of officers respond and set up a perimeter to catch this individual, as we've seen in other pursuits. But to try and limit the liability is first and foremost for the agency that's responsible for this, and that's for the public safety.
So, Bill, they're hovering in the area, somewhere nearby?
It seems that they are going around the area. Possibly that suspect is familiar with the area or communicating with individuals that may want to assist in harboring him at some point if they do decide to take foot bail from the pursuit. But those are all tactics that all agencies are aware of, and the units are anticipating such moves if that does happen.
Bill, let's talk about a spike strip. At what point, if at any point, we're seeing how this driver is just taking over these side streets, when will officers set up a spike strip?
Well, pursuits, the law enforcement agencies react to how that pursuit is going on. And in this instance, it's pretty hard to set up a spike strip unless you know for sure that that particular vehicle is coming that particular road. So it's usually by chance. If they know it's coming down a long stretch and there happens to be a unit responding, they will coordinate with the pursuing units, basically stating that they are going to set up the spike strip at some point on whatever street that vehicle is coming. Again, the agencies all have different policies, but the officers that are deploying that spike strip, they're exposing themselves to a grave danger. They're seeing a high-speed vehicle come in their direction. They need to look for cover. They need to make sure that it's an element of surprise for the fleeing suspect as well. So those are different factors that are by chance available to be deployed. And it's not something that you can set up and say, okay, I'm going to set up on this street in the case if it comes there. But they're taking into consideration the travel and the tendency of this fleeing suspect to be around a certain area. So
Bill,
that's probably what's going on.
We are talking to former CHP officer Bill Preciado. Bill, stay with us. We want to bring back in Ileana Moreno, who has been topside and news shopper from the beginning of this pursuit. Ileana, go ahead and tell us where we are right now and give us a recap of what we have been watching now for several minutes.
Robert, we're still in the South LA area, residential area, as you can see, where this driver continues to drive at freeway speeds on these small residential streets. Wow, every time there's a close call, I'm just holding my breath because there have been a number of close calls. But this driver has been incredibly lucky that he hasn't collided with another vehicle. He had a minor side swipe at one point when he was exiting the freeway, but I believe that's been it that we've been able to capture. But continuing to make his way eastbound here on a small street. It's going to be 94th Street. It's in the LAX airspace, which is why we can't be right over it, but we're kind of watching it here from a distance, and he appears to be lost almost. There's really no rhyme or reason to the streets that he's picking. For a time, he even got stuck in a parking lot for a local store. So it seems like he just isn't quite sure really where to go from here. At this point, there's no ground units behind him. So as far as he knows, this isn't even a pursuit. But of course, the CHP helicopter is still overhead. He might have caught a glimpse of the helicopter at one point, perhaps, and that's why he realizes that this is still a chase. But it definitely appears that he's not slowing down, even though they are in surveillance mode.
And you know, Ileana, so whether or not he's seeing this CHP chopper above him, what's also concerning is that he could be or she could be on the phone with somebody who is watching NBC4 as we're monitoring this vehicle and could let that person know that they're still being monitored.
Absolutely. I had one pursuit one time where the driver was watching the broadcast of the pursuit, and I knew because I had asked a question. Hypothetically, I had asked a question, and then he used his fingers to answer that question for me. I think it was a numerical question of like how many people were in the car.
Ileana, right here we see the door opening.
Yeah, door opening. Here we go.
Okay.
And it appears to be a woman who's trying to run away here. She's on 92nd Street. She's just beyond that apartment building there. We'll see if she pops out the other side. Sure enough, there she goes.
Is she
Making
holding
her way
anything?
towards Compton Avenue.
Ileana,
She
can you see
appears
if
to be
she's
holding something.
I hope that's not a child.
I don't believe it is.
It's
Let
a
me get back in
backpack.
my...
Our producers are
Yeah, let
telling
me,
us. Thank you.
Get in a couple of
so
doublers here.
here she is down the street. We wonder if Annabelle, as you were mentioning before, perhaps she was on the phone with someone and then maybe someone was going to pick her up, or maybe she is just now trying to blend in and obviously not aware that nobody is looking for her.
Right, but so again, we know that units weren't behind this vehicle because of how reckless the driver was being. And now we know it's a female, just got out of the vehicle and started running and, of course, trying to evade officers. Clearly isn't aware, as we can tell, that she is being monitored overhead.
Yeah,
And so, Ileana,
Go ahead, Robert.
I would imagine now that you're hearing that law enforcement should be quickly converging to try and pick up this driver who has just taken off in a very dangerous pursuit for some time throughout many communities in Los Angeles.
Yeah, what we're hearing is the airship is calling in units to this location so that they can try to get her, and then they still have to clear the car because sometimes there's multiple people in the car and the other people decide not to run, most likely because they were just a passenger. They had nothing to do with this, so they stay in the vehicle. She's actually trying to flag people down.
Wow.
It looks like she was trying to get a ride. Wow.
Yeah, so she's trying to hitchhike her way out of this.
Well, this is a first.
Yeah.
Fortunately, people aren't stopping for her.
Okay, and so we see, what street are we on, Eliana, just so we can tell our viewers?
Yeah, so this is going to be Compton Avenue with a cross of 95th Street. We're in the South LA area of Watts. And you can see she's still making her way southbound here on Compton Avenue, which is a major street here through the area. Already tried to flag down a few people. They weren't having it, so she's forced to walk here, but continuing to turn around. She continues to look over her shoulder to see if officers are coming to get her. And at this point, there weren't any officers directly behind her. So the airship is having to navigate some of these ground units to try to locate her and still clear the vehicle.
And let's take another look of her leaving the car. Across the street here, by the way, you see some gentlemen. There was one on the balcony. There's one right here in the crosswalk. It appears that they had let her know that from what we're seeing here, that perhaps they knew or telling her that they were aware that she was involved in this pursuit and maybe that they had seen it. As she now heads down the sidewalk at 95th and Compton. Lost her here, Ileana. Let's see if we see her coming through these trees. But you're not seeing any ground units as well. As she continues to walk away from this stolen Kia that was stolen, as you said, days, perhaps weeks ago. And right now, just trying to get as far away from this as possible, but no ground units as of yet. I think we have video of her just leaving and abandoning that car. Can we take a look at that as well?
And again, for anybody who's just tuning in, it is 5:13. And you are watching the NBC4 News at 5. We've been monitoring this pursuit. It's something that started around 3 p.m. LAPD spotted this vehicle that, as Robert mentioned, was a stolen vehicle, failed to yield. And then a pursuit started. Officers decided to back off because of how reckless she was driving. This pursuit, we started picking up and monitoring it around the 4 o'clock hour. And we've just been monitoring it. She just recently abandoned the vehicle, got out. At one point, we thought there were a few people in this vehicle, but we only saw her exit that vehicle. And so now she's just walking on the street, trying to wave down a couple of drivers to see if maybe she can catch a ride with them.
The driver of a dangerous pursuit tries to end it by hitchhiking her way out of it.
She's going
and
to that
right now she headed down an alley. We bring back in Ileana Moreno, who has been monitoring this for us. Ileana, you explained to us before that law enforcement decided not to pursue this on the ground because of the dangers involved here for them. And as we look right now, we're going to see that there she is trying to hitchhike her way here, a bizarre end to this pursuit. And right now she has turned down an alley and we seem to have lost her. Maybe she's found her way home.
Yeah, I saw her turn in behind that apartment complex there. So it's unclear to me if there's maybe an alleyway between those two buildings or if she went into the building itself. It's in the LAX airspace, which is why we're being kept away and can't get right over her. But she was just behind the first building there that you see on the shot. What I am hearing, though, I'm hearing the airship, the LA County Sheriff's airship, and they're guiding some of these ground units to her location. They're giving them her description as well so that they can try to find her when they do arrive on scene.
And we see a number of people outside who may have been watching this pursuit as well. Ileana, we saw live on NBC4 one car that was actually sideswiped that looked like there was some damage. But as far as what you are hearing, there have been no injuries and no other serious damage to any vehicles, buildings, or anything like that during this pursuit that we may have missed.
Yeah, fortunately, we didn't see anything more than a sideswipe, but we saw a number of close calls that took my breath away because it was extremely dangerous, high speed. But what we are hearing, Robert, from my pilot, James Pollard here, who's in communication with the police ship, is that she's in a carport. So she's in a carport for these apartment buildings. So pretty much where we saw her turn in, she's trying to hide there in a carport. So it's going to be one of these buildings here. Actually, both of these have carports. So it's going to be somewhere here. But police are very aware of where she is at. The airship continues to guide units here to the scene.
Well, she's in a carport. Let's hope that she's just hiding there, waiting for police to come there and not try to find another vehicle to perhaps steal. We are going to leave you there, Ileana, for us, and hopefully you can get a resolution of this stolen Kia pursuit that we have been monitoring live on NBC4 for right now just about the last 45 minutes or so. That looks like it may be coming to a conclusion, and we will have more for you as we get it.
That's right. All right. So we're going to move on now to the investigation surrounding Matthew Perry's death. He died of an overdose last October. One of the 5 people arrested is
That's her there. Yeah. That's this side, yeah. Yeah. 9-5. No, she's still wearing the same thing. No, she's still wearing the same outfit. She was right there a second ago, still wearing the same thing. Yeah, she's in that doorway where it says private property. Yeah. Jack, I saw her like 10 seconds ago. She was still wearing the same thing in that doorway. So CHP asked LAPD to send some units over here, so they're on their way. Yeah, 5's way low, Andrews. Copy that, Jack. I'm on Telemundo now. Jack, do you know who's going to go first, Telemundo or NBC? I hear Telemundo still using my shot. Say that again. Jack, I missed what you said, but it's LAPD and CHP that just showed up. Okay. Copy that. 2 minutes to NBC. This building is located on Compton Avenue and 96th Street here in the Watts area. And as you said, law enforcement have just arrived on scene. It's a combination of LAPD as well as the California Highway Patrol. And they're focusing their attention on the carport area of this apartment building. Now, we did get a sight of that woman. We saw her in that doorway just a few minutes ago, the same doorway where officers have just entered. So we can only assume that it'll be a matter of minutes before they locate her and take her into custody. But additional LAPD officers arriving on scene. At this point, it's unclear if they've had a chance to go over to the vehicle and clear it to see if anybody was left inside, because they are focusing their attention on getting the driver here out of this apartment building and in custody. Oh, perfect. Yeah, she walked in to the carport area and made no attempts to change her clothing. When I saw her, she was still wearing the same outfit, even though it had been several minutes. And I could just see her in the doorway there. And all of these residents were out the entire time. No one was really talking to her, but a lot of them were just more confused more than anything about who this woman was. So it doesn't seem like she's a resident per se, because she didn't try to go into any of the apartment units and instead was just hiding in the carport area. And what we're hearing now from my pilot, James Pollard, who's in communication with the police ship, is that they may have her cornered now in that carport area. And we're hearing now one person in custody. So that's got to be her. It was the only person they were looking for. But we are hearing now over the scanner, one person in custody here in Watts. We just heard she was taken into custody, but haven't seen her come out yet. Oh, really? Maybe requesting an ambulance. Just her, yeah. They went and cleared the car. Go ahead, Jack. On the microwave, Jack, go ahead. Okay. Copy. They haven't brought her out yet. Sure. Compton Avenue and 9-6. The numbers on Compton Avenue are 9547. 9547 Compton. We're in Watts per my map. Okay. I heard Latina. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was hard to tell. But she is asking for paramedics. They're just arriving here with the gurney. Yeah. Nicer. Jim is checking. Just a sec. We have an hour left. 1 hour, 60 minutes. They're still tending to her. Yeah, she's still in there. They brought the gurney out. Maybe having some sort of medical emergency. Oh, yeah. Hey, Jack, yeah, I'm getting it as Watts. Compton Avenue 096. Yeah, it's probably the north end of Watts. Wow. True, yeah.